Hi everyone, Stephen Marcus here, and today I'll be sharing with you my developing dissertation interests, which focus on secrecy, surveillance, and democratic trust in post 9/11 America. This will be for week 1 of History 701 Historical Professions, led by Dr. Roger Schultz. So for this presentation, I explored recent dissertations and scholarship on ProQuest related to intelligence history, surveillance programs, media influence, and public trust in government institutions. These works help me better understand current trends in scholarship surrounding national security, information, and democratic accountability in modern American history. This is also going to be a topic that I touched on for my senior thesis in my undergrad program at IU. It was more so on the CIA and like competitiveness against China as a global superpower. And then one of my recent classes in my master's program here at Liberty, and for oral history, I studied NSA, government overreach, and stuff like that. So it kind of feeds into that a little bit. I haven't narrowed down a topic just yet, but this is kind of in the ballpark of what I am interested in, as well as after watching the recent video for this class, which talks about different job opportunities you have once you get that PhD working for think tanks or foundations. I feel like this might be a little bit in that ballpark as well. I could be wrong, but I'm still narrowing it down. All right, so research interest. My primary research interests center on surveillance intelligence history, media narratives, and democratic trust in post 9/11 America. These interests developed further, as I already mentioned, through my recent oral history paper, as well as in that paper, I studied the historiography of privacy after 9/11. In that study, I analyzed oral testimonies from Edward Snowden, journalists, especially when all that was going on, and intelligence officials, to explore how surveillance debates reshaped ideas surrounding privacy, accountability, and democratic legitimacy. Additionally, during my undergraduate studies, as I already mentioned, I wrote a paper on CIA, the history of the CIA, and how they are relevant today and their competitiveness with China, as well as I touched on some other aspects of how they recruit, who they look for, and things of those regards. Intelligence oversight, public trust, and political culture in modern American history is something I do find fascinating. It's something that does interest me deeply. So the first dissertation I looked at when I was on ProQuest, my first search parameters were, I did search post 9/11 surveillance. I applied the filters. I wanted something a little bit more recent, post 9/11, so 2010 to 2029 is what it gave me on there. And I did want to find something that was relevant to our school, Liberty University, at least for my first search. I did find something somewhat similar, somewhat in that ballpark. And that's going to be navigating fair, exploring the influence of media and other factors on perceptions of terrorism. So the first dissertation was by Malachi, and excuse me if I'm messing up his name, Malachi Chime Robinson. And this one is a dissertation that focused on how media coverage and demographic variables influence fear of terrorism in post 9/11 America. Robinson utilized a quantitative research methodology that included surveys, statistical analysis, and regression models involving over 400 participants. This study concluded that media exposure, political attitudes, and trust in institutions significantly shaped perceptions of terrorism and public fear. This source was valuable because it demonstrated how media narratives can influence political culture and public trust in government institutions after major national crises. And so the key themes for that were media influence, fear of terrorism, public perception, institutional trust. All right, so this takes us to our next dissertation, dissertation 2. The second dissertation I explored was Trelampos, and he has a very difficult last name, but it's Paraskevopoulos, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. Dissertation titled Intelligence and Democracy, Snowden Revelations and Reforms. This study examined Edward Snowden's disclosures and their impacts on democratic accountability, intelligence oversight, and public trust. The dissertation analyzed NSA surveillance programs, intelligence reforms, and a balance between national security and civil liberties. Its methodology combined policy analysis, intelligence history, and institutional research. Excuse me. The author concluded that the Snowden disclosure exposed weaknesses in intelligence oversight and significantly altered public conversations about privacy and government transparency. This dissertation closely aligns with my developing research interests because it connects surveillance, information disclosure, and democratic legitimacy in modern day America. So it kind of goes off of my paper I did for oral history, NSA surveillance, democratic accountability, oversight, privacy versus security, Benjamin Franklin quote, title slide. All right, so the third dissertation I looked up on there, third search parameters, I searched government and transparency, applied filters 2010, 2029. I examined was Jeffrey Fair's study on governmental transparency within the United States intelligence community, and this was done at George Washington University. So this dissertation focused specifically on the National Security Agency and debates surrounding transparency, secrecy, and accountability. The study used institutional case studies, methods, and analyzed government documents, intelligence reforms, and oversight mechanisms. The dissertation argued that transparency plays an important role in maintaining democratic legitimacy and public confidence in intelligence institutions. This source further reinforced my interest in studying how secrecy and information management influence public trust in American government institutions. So some scholarly connections. So collectively, these dissertations reveal several important scholarly trends. While the first one was a little bit different from the other two, there is an increasing academic interest in surveillance, intelligence history, and information systems in post 9/11 America. Second, scholars increasingly examine how media narratives and government secrecy shape democratic trust and political legitimacy. Finally, many researchers now focus on tensions between national security and civil liberties during periods of crisis and technological change, which is definitely relevant today with AI, data centers, and whatnot. These themes are especially relevant today because of debates over surveillance, information control, and institutional trust continue to shape American political culture. So for my conclusion, excuse me. In conclusion, this research helped me better define my emerging dissertation interests within modern American political and cultural history. I am particularly interested in studying how secrecy, surveillance, intelligence, controversies, and media narratives reshape public trust and democratic legitimacy in post 9/11 America. These dissertations demonstrated the growing importance of scholarship focused on researching how intelligence disclosures and surveillance debates transformed relationships between the American public and federal institutions. Thank you guys for watching my video, and I will post my abstract below this as well as the sources I utilized for this video. Thank you so much, and I look forward to watching your videos and responding to those as well. Thank you so much. God bless you. Have a great day.